The first thing I got is just kind of looking at Ryan Carty and the program overall. What can you tell me about him?
Well, Coach Carty's a former Delaware quarterback. He was a backup quarterback his entire 5 years here because he was behind a transfer from Georgia Tech, a transfer from Missouri, and then Joe Flacco.
Oh boy.
Um, so he certainly played some, mostly in backup situations or when the starter went out briefly. But Ryan is the son of a football coach. His two brothers are both football coaches. It was pretty obvious Ryan was also going to be a football coach. So, when he graduated from Delaware, he went up to their conference rival, New Hampshire, when Chip Kelly was still there, and was greatly influenced by Coach Kelly. Rose to be New Hampshire's offensive coordinator. And then he went down to Sam Houston State to join Casey Keeler, who was his coach at Delaware, on his staff before getting the Delaware job. This is Ryan's fourth year as the head coach, and he's done a nice job. They've had some success. He calls the plays. He runs the offense. He calls the plays. So he's a busy guy, and it's a spread offense that he takes a lot of pride in. It's balanced, but they like to get those explosive plays downfield when they can get them. But the fact that he's a former Delaware player, I think gives him a pretty good feeling about, the passion that exists here for college football, and is really the right guy to try to lead them on this climb up to Conference USA and the Football Bowl subdivision.
Yeah, so that was my next thing was first year in FBS. Um, can you tell me about their time as an FCS school and kind of what led up to them being able to make the jump?
Yeah, I mean, Delaware is one of the more well-known, lower level football programs. I mean, it was called the College Division for a long time, and then when the NCAA made their divisional format, they were Division two, and then they moved up to Division One AA, which of course is now FCS, and they won six national titles at those various levels from the late 40s to and then the last one in 2003. They were also in the title game in 2007 when Flacco was the quarterback, and 2010 as well. So, just a long history of success, not as much the past 15 years as before that. They've had a couple, you know, downturns that were a little bit uncharacteristic. But just a long, proud tradition. The Delaware wing tee offense that was invented here is a popular offense at the high school level. Um, but they just kind of felt it was time to make this move up from a competitive standpoint, from a financial standpoint, and I think just for a wish to kind of get the university a little bit more known nationally. It's a really good school, and just kind of build the brand and spread the brand nationally a little bit more.
And so jumping up to this year, how's it been for them in Conference USA?
I mean, they've been very competitive. They won their first league game down at Florida International, um, and then played Western Kentucky in their first home Conference USA game. And of course, Western Kentucky's, one of the top programs in the league. Delaware lost that game 27-24. Some late game mistakes really did him in. Western Kentucky returned an interception for a touchdown in the second half, and they also forced a fumble as Delaware's quarterback was running into the end zone for a touchdown in the second half. And then Delaware missed a game-tying field goal at the buzzer. So everybody walked away, feeling like, you know, Delaware is certainly good enough to compete with the top teams in this league. They just didn't get it done, that game with their turnovers and stuff like that. Then they went down to Jacksonville State and had a little bit more of a difficult time. There, it was two early turnovers that put them in an early 14-0 deficit. So they kind of spent the whole game trying to fight back, could never get the running game going, you know, just trying to play catch up. Jackson State or Jacksonville State played really well, and led 35-6 at one point. It ended up being closer, 38-25, but that was a little bit deceiving. So Delaware's really trying to bounce back against the Blue Raiders from a difficult game last week down at Jacksonville State.
From the outside looking in with the Blue Hens offense, it kind of looks like it's similar to MTSU where it's as far as the quarterback can take them. What could you tell me about Nick?
They're no doubt, very reliant on the quarterback. Nick's a third year junior who started games as a freshman, started games as a sophomore, and he didn't start the opener this year. He was in a really close battle for the starting position, but Zach Marker, who has more experience and got the job, blew out his knee on the first play of Delaware's second series. So Nick stepped in, and he's done a real nice job. Again, those two turnovers against Western Kentucky hurt him. Um, but he can throw the ball. He's one of the national leaders in touchdown runs. Delaware's offense, it's a spread offense. They want to hit plays downfield, but they want to balance it out. They've they haven't been quite as run past balanced this year as they were the last 3 years, and I guess that's just because they're playing tougher teams. They've it's been more of a 60-40 pass run, than 50-50 like it was the last few years. But yeah, Nick is certainly up to the task. He's got some really good receivers. Jake Thaw, the Michigan transfer, Kyrie Duplessis, the East the Coastal Carolina transfer. Those guys in particular. And in the backfield, Joe Silver, who's one of the top 5 or 6 running backs in the league, is done a nice job. And Byron Ellison, who's a sophomore who played as a freshman last year at Tulsa, has also stepped in and had some nice runs for the Hens. And they're pretty good up front. Their offensive line is very, very experienced. A couple sixth-year guys in there. Another guy who turned down ACC offers to go to Delaware. He's a Delaware high school kid. Yeah. So I think they feel good about what they can do.
Yeah, the offensive line was a unit that Derek was really harping on during his presser. Now that you mentioned
Oh,
it,
was he? Oh, good,
yeah, he
good.
he he pretty much, without saying it, he said, "I wish we had what they have."
Oh, nice. Wow, that's
Yeah,
impressive.
yeah. So
Yeah,
he's
that's a
pretty
that, that's a nice
seemed
compliment.
yeah seemed pretty happy with that, and certainly on their radar. And the other thing that was really on their radar, he mentioned it a little bit, and then running back Jaquel Middlebrook almost slipped up and said, "Yeah, I'm pretty worried about their front seven." He was harping on the D line and the linebackers. What can you tell me about those two units?
Yeah, I mean, it's really almost kind of a front six because they play a 3-3-5, though, they often bring up, up a fourth lineman or pretty much a fourth linebacker. A safety will kind of come up and they're very versatile with that defense. Again, even though it's a 3-3-5, they will kind of switch into different things. And yeah, they've done a nice job. Now, what they need to do better is they need to force some turnovers, which they did in the win down at Florida International, but haven't been able to do as much the last couple games. When they were an FCS team, they were especially good at that. They were always one of the top teams in turnover margin, not turning it over on offense and getting takeaways on defense. So they're trying to kind of get back to that. Again, they're playing at a higher level than they were before. The games are faster, they're more physical. So they have to kind of start delivering some hits to force some turnovers the way teams have been doing it to Delaware the last couple of weeks. But yeah, they feel good about their defense. The two guys to watch would be Gavin Moole, the linebacker, and KT Say, the safety in particular, are pretty good.
All righty, well that's really good to know. With the 3-3-5, and this might be more technical than what you've got, but I know you've covered Delaware for a long time. Um, is it kind of a focus for them to be more against the pass, or they just feel comfortable rolling with just six guys in the box?
No, no, I think yeah, I think they feel good, whether teams are running or throwing. Again, they can adjust out of it. And the fact that the one outside linebacker, they call a bandit, who's really kind of a run stopper and a pass defender. He moves around a lot. And one of the safeties is always kind of creeping up, to kind of jump in there, and join them too. So uh, that's kind of always the question about that kind of defense. Do you have enough up front to stop the run? But usually they've been up to the task to do that because again, they are flexible.
And the last thing I really have for you is, can I get a score prediction for this week?
I I picked Delaware 31, Middle Tennessee 19. Or was it 31-19? I think I had 31-19 on my pick. Yeah, I mean, I think this is a game Delaware could win and should win, though it's not going to be easy. I mean, Middle Tennessee is much better than its record in my opinion. And Coach Carty was very, very complimentary of some of their offensive playmakers in particular in his discussion about the Blue Raiders yesterday.
Alrighty, well that's all I have. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate you